Imagine a future so expansive, so grand, it's almost beyond our comprehension.
Hmm.
A future where humanity endures for trillions of years, expanding across billions of galaxies, creating, profound beauty and meaning in the cosmos.
It's an incredible
It
vision.
really takes your breath away. Now, try to hold that magnificent image in your mind.
Okay.
Because Toby Ord, the author of the incredible book we're delving into today, estimates a startling, a 1 in 6 chance of humanity destroying its long-term potential this century.
Wow. 1 in 6. That's high.
Right. How can we possibly hold these two vastly different, almost contradictory futures in our minds simultaneously? And, more importantly, what can we do to protect something so incredibly valuable?
That's the core question, isn't
It
it?
is. Today, we're opening Toby Ord's powerful book, The Precipice. It tackles this monumental question head-on, arguing that humanity stands at a critical juncture.
The precipice, yeah.
Exactly. We've amassed unprecedented power, yet we also face profound risks, especially, those of our own making. Our mission here is to extract the most vital insights from this thought-provoking book, helping you grasp both the urgency and the incredible stakes.
And that kind of deep thought, that critical analysis, is exactly what we aim for on our YouTube channel, Mindful Moments.
Ah, yes.
We offer AI-powered book analysis designed to inspire reflection and rational thought on complex topics, just like this one we're discussing today. It's really a space for you to explore and understand these vital concepts even further.
That's great. So, okay, let's unpack this. The book really highlights humanity's journey, doesn't it?
It really does. A remarkable journey.
From small foraging communities, we've arrived at this complex global civilization. What truly stands out, for me anyway, is our incredible capacity for cooperation, not just geographically, but across generations.
That's such a key point.
Think about it. If each generation had to learn everything from scratch, a simple iron shovel would have been forever beyond our reach.
Right, impossible.
But instead, we learned from our ancestors, added minor innovations, passed it all down. This allowed our knowledge and culture to grow, incrementally, bit by bit. Order points out how agriculture allowed communities to scale dramatically, the largest foraging groups, maybe hundreds of people.
Yeah, about that.
But the first cities grew to tens of thousands. The Sumerian civilization reached around 1 million.
And then you get to the Han Dynasty in China 2,000 years ago. 60 million people.
60 million. That's 100,000 times more than any forager group and 10 times the entire global forager population at its peak. Just staggering growth.
It is, but what's truly fascinating, or maybe sobering, about this historical ascent is that progress hasn't always been, linear or purely positive.
No, definitely not.
The book notes that life in the centuries following the agricultural revolution often meant more work, less nutrition, and actually an increase in disease for many.
Right. The average farmer might have been worse off than the average forager in some ways.
Exactly. And science, while bringing immense breakthroughs, also gave us weapons of destruction that still, cast a long shadow.
Nuclear weapons being the obvious example.
And the Industrial Revolution, for all its leaps forward, it led to immense destabilization, widespread inequality, and significant environmental damage. Greenhouse gases, endangered species. We're still grappling with that legacy.
We are.
However, there's a powerful counter-narrative here, too, which the book emphasizes. The dramatic reduction in extreme poverty over the last 2 centuries.
That's a crucial positive point.
Absolutely. Prior to the Industrial Revolution, something like 19 out of 20 people lived on less than $2 a day in today's money.
19 out of 20.
Now it's about 1 out of 10. Still too many, of course. But the trajectory toward improvement is undeniably clear.
So if we connect this to the bigger picture, this history really shows humanity's capacity for both immense harm and immense good. It's this double-edged sword we're wielding.
Precisely. We have this growing power, but wisdom hasn't always kept pace.
So, given this mixed bag of progress, what does the book tell us about the ultimate stakes? What exactly is existential risk?
Yeah, that's a good question to clarify.
Ord makes it clear it isn't just about human extinction, right?
Right. It's broader than that. It's about losing our entire future, everything humanity could potentially become. It's about destroying our present, yes, but also betraying our past, all those generations that built what we have.
Wow, betraying our past. That's a powerful way to put it.
Isn't it? He defines it as a crucial negative turning point, something that permanently locks off almost all our potential for a worthy future. Even if it doesn't mean immediate extinction, it could mean an unrecoverable collapse of civilization's potential. a permanent trap.
A permanent trap.
Yeah.
Okay, so this raises a really important question then. If the stakes are so incredibly high, why do we as a species tend to neglect these huge risks?
Ah, yes, the psychology and sociology of it all. The book points to several compelling reasons.
Like what?
Well, first, there's the availability heuristic, that common cognitive bias.
Where we judge likelihood based on how easily examples come to mind.
Exactly. Events that haven't occurred in our lifetimes or ever, like human extinction or unrecoverable collapse, they're hard to vividly imagine. So we tend to underestimate their probability. It's a mental blind spot.
Makes sense. Out of sight, out of mind, almost.
Sort of. Then second, there's the public good problem. Protection from existential risk benefits everyone on Earth now and in the future. It's a classic global public good.
But no single nation wants to pay the full price for something everyone benefits from.
Precisely. It leads to free riding and chronic underinvestment. The book notes, for instance, the UK is less than 1% of the world's population. If it acted alone, it might undervalue work on existential risk by a factor of 100.
A factor of 100, wow.
And finally, the whole concept of existential risk from our own actions is relatively new. Serious thought about human extinction as an imminent danger driven by technology only really emerged in the mid-20th century with nuclear weapons.
Right. Before that, it was mostly acts of God or maybe asteroids people worried about, if at all.
Exactly. It's still a pretty nascent idea in our civic and moral traditions. We haven't fully integrated it.
So these factors combine.
And lead to neglect. To put it chillingly, Ord reminds us that humanity spends more on ice cream every year than on ensuring that the technologies we develop don't end up destroying us.
That ice cream comparison, it really sticks with you, doesn't it? It puts things into perspective.
It absolutely does.
And the book really details how nuclear weapons ushered in this new era of unprecedented risk. The Cuban Missile Crisis is such a terrifying example.
Truly harrowing.
Did you know Kennedy actually changed his mind on striking after a U-2 plane was shot down? And Khrushchev was racing to end the crisis partly because he realized he couldn't fully control his own forces.
The ones who shot down the U-2 against his orders.
Yeah.
Loss of control at the critical moment.
Exactly. And then there's the constant threat of hair trigger alert on ICBM's intercontinental ballistic missiles, ready to launch in just 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
The book provides this chilling catalog of false alarms, like that 1979 training tape incident.
Oh, where the simulation went live.
Yeah. A realistic simulation of a massive Soviet first strike was mistakenly sent to live computer systems at U.S. command centers. It brought us terrifyingly close to accidental nuclear war. Pure luck, almost, that it didn't happen.
It's hard to even imagine the pressure in those control rooms. And speaking of chilling insights, the book makes a really compelling case about engineered pandemics.
Right, that's another big one.
While historical pandemics, like the Black Death or the 1918 Spanish flu, were absolutely devastating.
Wiped out huge percentages of the population.
Huge percentages, yes. Europe lost maybe 25 to 50% in the Black Death. But, the book argues, they didn't cause unrecoverable civilizational collapse. Civilization, though scarred, remained intact.
Okay, so what's different now?
Well, the current risk is greatly amplified by technology. Our farming practices increase animal infections crossing over. Global transport spreads disease incredibly rapidly.
Yeah, we saw that recently.
And especially concerning is gain-of-function research in labs, where scientists intentionally make viruses more transmissible or more virulent, supposedly for study.
That sounds inherently risky.
It is. The book cites worryingly high rates of lab escapes, even for the highest security BSL-4 facilities. Biosafety level 4.
Even BSL-4?
Yep. Like the 2007 UK foot and mouth outbreak traced back to a lab leak from a badly maintained pipe. And that's just accidents.
You mean deliberate use?
Beyond accidents, there's the long, dark history of deliberate biological warfare. It goes way back 1320 BCE in Asia Minor, British actions in 1763 Canada.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was that old.
And the book even speculates whether the Black Death's arrival in Europe might have been an early act of biological warfare by the Mongol army flinging bodies over city walls.
Good grief. That historical context for biological warfare is truly sobering.
It really is.
But let's shift gears again, because the book highlights artificial intelligence as potentially an even greater risk.
Ah, AI. The big one for many people thinking of the future.
When I first read about AlphaZero, the system that learned chess from scratch.
Yeah, the DeepMind system.
It reached Grandmaster level in just 4 hours. I had to read that twice. In 4 hours, it discovered centuries of human strategy and apparently played with this creative alien style.
It's a mind-bending example of the pace of progress.
It really is. And the sexual existential risk from AI, the book explains, isn't necessarily killer robots like in the movies, but creating a general intelligence that vastly surpasses our own.
A superintelligence.
Right. And this leads to what they call the alignment problem. How do we possibly ensure that these highly intelligent AI agents pursue human values and goals, not their own inscrutable ones?
That seems like an incredibly difficult problem, maybe impossible.
The book warns that a misaligned superintelligence could lock humanity into some kind of terrible form of dystopia, permanently. Even if civilization technically remains intact, our values, our future, could be lost.
Like instrumental convergence, where it pursues some simple goal and reshapes everything to achieve it, regardless of us.
Exactly. It points out that historical figures with just human-level intelligence, like Hitler or Stalin, were able to scale their power globally. So it suggests it's entirely plausible for entities with vastly superior intelligence to do the same, but on an unimaginable, unchallengeable scale.
It's a profound thought, that the very intelligence we strive to create could become our greatest existential challenge.
Yeah.
And while nuclear war, engineered pandemics, and unaligned AI are among the big 5 anthropogenic risks, the book also includes climate change and other environmental damage in there.
Right. Those are crucial too.
It emphasizes that the existential risk from these, while maybe more speculative than that from asteroids, isn't necessarily smaller.
More speculative, but potentially larger.
Correct. In fact, it suggests that each of these major anthropogenic risks might pose a higher probability of causing an existential catastrophe than all natural risks combined, like asteroids, supervolcanoes, etc.
Each one. That's significant.
Very. And this raises another important question. What about unforeseen risks? The risks we haven't even thought of yet.
The unknown unknowns.
Exactly. The book compellingly points out that if scientists back in, say, 1930 had compiled a list of future existential risks, they would have missed most of today's major anthropogenic threats. Nuclear weapons, advanced AI, synthetic biology, they simply hadn't been invented or conceived of.
Good point.
Since human power is still growing rapidly, arguably exponentially, it's highly likely that entirely new threats will emerge. Threats we can't even imagine today. How do we prepare for that?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? Or maybe the trillion-dollar question. It's easy to get lost in the potential for disaster looking at all this.
It can feel overwhelming.
But this is where the book also really shines, I think, because despite these immense risks, Ord paints this absolutely breathtaking picture of humanity's potential.
The other side of the coin. The reason it's all worth protecting.
Exactly. Think about the sheer time we potentially have. Our planet, Earth, will likely remain habitable for roughly 1 billion more years.
1 billion years.
That's enough time for trillions upon trillions of human lives to unfold. Time to see mountain ranges rise and fall, continents drift and collide. It's geological timescales.
Hard to fathom.
And we might have even more time beyond Earth. As Konstantin Tsiolkovsky, the pioneer of rocketry, put it, Earth is the cradle of humanity, but one cannot live in a cradle forever.
Reaching for the stars.
We might reach other stars. And the universe itself, it's unimaginably vast. Hundreds of billions of galaxies in just the observable part. And that observable universe continues to expand, revealing more galaxies every single year. The potential scale is just cosmic.
Mind-boggling potential in space and time.
And then there's the quality of our potential future. Ord argues, and I think it's compelling, that human life is, on the whole, better today than ever before.
Despite the challenges we still face.
Despite the challenges. We generally fear less from disease, hunger, violence from each other compared to most of human history. We've conquered smallpox, created vaccines, developed ethics, science, art. We live with more freedom and opportunity than our ancestors could likely have dreamed of.
There's been real moral progress, too.
Definitely. The book notes our growing awareness of injustices inflicted on animals, our concern for the environment. These are relatively recent developments in the grand scheme of things. It's a future of immense, almost unfathomable value that we stand to lose.
That truly highlights what's at stake. What we're fighting for. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the book argues that protecting this immense potential, achieving what Ord calls existential security, is truly the task of our time.
The task of our time. I like that.
It suggests that humanity is currently akin to an adolescent. We have this rapidly developing power, but our wisdom, our foresight, our self-control, it's lagging behind. And like many adolescents, we have an unhealthy appetite for risk.
That analogy of humanity as an adolescent
Yeah.
It really resonates, that tension between potential and recklessness.
Exactly. And the most effective approach isn't panic, but action far in advance. It's much easier to change course when you start early.
Steer the ship gently.
Right. This means consciously working to increase our collective wisdom, our foresight. And crucially, if wisdom is lagging behind power, maybe we need to consciously press more lightly on the accelerator of developing ever more powerful, potentially dangerous technologies.
Be more cautious, basically.
Be more prudent. The book highlights the vital role of technological governance. This involves politicians, civil servants, but especially the scientists and engineers themselves, reflecting deeply on the ethical implications of their work and developing robust guidelines and safeguards.
So it's not about stopping progress or relinquishing technology.
No, not at all. Technology is essential for realizing our long-term potential, for solving problems like disease and poverty, maybe even for reaching the stars. But it is about being patient and prudent in its development and deployment, getting the wisdom right before we unleash too much power.
That makes sense. Prudence, not prohibition. So what does this all mean for our ultimate aim if we do manage to navigate this perilous period?
Well, that leads to a concept the book calls the long reflection.
The long reflection.
Yeah, it envisions a future state where humanity, having finally achieved existential security, having overcome the basic struggles of scarcity and survival, can collectively and wisely decide what is best. What should we do with this vast potential we've secured?
So a future dedicated not just to survival, but to purpose, to figuring out the big questions.
Precisely. A time for deep collective deliberation about values, meaning the future direction of civilization across potentially astronomical timescales. It's the ultimate aim, maybe. But the crucial point is, getting to safety, achieving that existential security must come first. The long reflection can wait. Surviving the precipice cannot.
Okay. Wow. We've explored the incredible stakes laid out in Toby Ord's book, The Precipice, this vast potential of humanity balanced against the very real and growing risks we face, especially the ones we're creating ourselves.
It's a lot to take in.
It really is. And this discussion, it's only scratched the surface of this powerful, important book. For more in-depth breakdowns, for AI-powered analyses of this book and other transformative ones like it, remember to check out Mindful Moments on our YouTube channel.
It's a great resource for digging deeper. And all this raises, I think, a really important question for each of us listening. Given everything that's at stake, this immense future, how will you contribute, even in a small way, to safeguarding it?
That's the question to ponder.
It is. We encourage you, if you found this valuable, to subscribe to this show wherever you get your audio.
Please do.
And maybe share this exploration with someone else, someone who values knowledge and thinking critically about the future.
Yeah, spread the conversation.
Consider purchasing The Precipice. We'll put a link in our show notes. It lets you delve even deeper into these vital ideas directly from the author.
It's definitely worth the read.
And most importantly, perhaps, just continue to think critically about our collective future. It belongs to all of us.